Hello and welcome to episode 73 of the Casual Try Hard podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm James.
And today, Wizards gave us content.
Again, almost like we're sponsored, but not even close.
Yeah, not even close. They just, like, for everyone, they're like, hey, you guys want to write some articles and talk about some stuff? We have some more banned and restricted announcements! Woo!
Ta-da!
I remember a simpler time that there was, like, one ban announcement, like, in January.
Yeah.
And that would take care of us for, like, a year plus. And now,
not so much anymore.
And now it's like, it's Monday. Are my cards worthless? Let's find out.
Let's find out on today's episode
of what were we having at the Olive Garden for the Wizards R&D team.
Man, I remember those days. I feel like so long ago, right?
Yeah, when you didn't worry about stuff getting banned like every other day.
Well, I just meant the Olive Garden bannings.
Oh, yeah. Those do seem like a million years ago.
Yeah,
that was like
though.
in like October. Yeah, it was like October. Yeah. If you would like to tweet at us about how time has stopped, you can get at us at Casual Tripod on Twitter. I
don't actually think time stopped. I think we're just in an alternate timeline now. We've kind of jumped the rails.
We've jumped the rails? Okay.
Yeah.
If you would like to tell us how to get back on the rails of the good timeline, please tweet at us at Casual Tripod.
You can also hit us up on Facebook. That's CasualTryHardMTG. If you want to drop us an email, you can do that at show@CasualTryHardMTG.com. I check our email all the time and respond pretty quickly. So that's a pretty safe way if you don't want the masses hearing your question. You just want some one-on-one time. You can shoot it to me there. Don't forget about our TCG affiliate link, tcg.casualtryhardmtg.com.
I've put this thing to work in the last couple of days.
TCG?
Oh, yeah.
You told me you had some sweet specs. Maybe we'll get to them a little bit later. Maybe we'll save them.
We'll see. I've got some things a-brewing.
Yeah. If you follow our TCG link there, whatever you purchase, we'll get a very small sliver of to help keep the show going. If you guys feel like supporting us a little bit more directly, you can do that on our Patreon, patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG. This week, Brian has worked super hard to get a Patreon-only room that we're going to use for like a finance, like quick specs and finance talk kind of thing. I got to figure out how to get the link into Patreon, but once you're a member of our Patreon, you can click on the link and it should shoot you right into that room. And, anything that we're specking on, like normally our specs are like $1 or $2. So they're nothing that's going to break the bank, but, I'll try and post up all my quick specs and, new tips and tricks that I found. And I imagine Brian will hop in once in a while and do the same thing. So I thought that was kind of a neat thing for our Patreon. So we're going to try and get that up and running. We also have a YouTube channel. Right now it's normally not a whole lot other than our episodes, but you can find us there. Maybe once we get a minute, we'll make some more content for it. Is there anything else for catching up?
No, I think that's all the usual stuff.
All right, so let's jump into it then.
So we had a banned and restricted announcement plus a change to the companion mechanic. So they basically went into the rule book and rewrote how companion worked. Mm-hmm. So they didn't have to change anything on the cards.
Yeah, like the rules for Companion, a lot of them weren't actually on the card like we're used to seeing for like a keyword or a mechanic or whatever. There's some reminder text and whatever the restriction is, but how Companion worked isn't actually on the card, so they can change that without having to reprint all of the cards.
I wanted to bring up a Companion so we could like read the actual like text that's on a card. Sure. So for Loris... Mm-hmm. So it's Companion. Each permanent card in your starting deck has converted mana cost 2 or less. All right. So then the only like rulesy reminder text is if this card is chosen as your companion, you may cast it once from outside the game. So this does kind of fundamentally change.
It does change that
the rules on the card, which I'm surprised that they decided to go that route because I didn't think it did initially.
Yeah, I didn't think so either until you just read it. Well, let's tell everybody what the rules change is before we go too deep.
Okay, so the old rule was you met the companion requirement. Your companion could be in your sideboard. You'd show it to your opponent before the game. And then once during the game, you just tapped however much mana. So for Loris, you tapped 1 white or 1 black or 1 white, and you took Loris from your sideboard onto the stack.
Yeah, you cast it.
Yep. Now what they're doing is, I guess it really messes with the rules on the card, is now you still have meet the deck requirement, you still reveal the companion to your opponent, and now as a sorcery, you can pay 3 mana to move the companion from your sideboard to your hand.
It's not actually a sorcery. It's at sorcery speed, so you have to do it whenever you could cast a sorcery, but it's technically a special game action.
Yeah, so you
can't respond to it. It's not something that uses the stack, it just happens.
What is the other thing that is one of the best mechanics that uses the special game action that you can't respond to? Morph. You just pay the mana and it unmorphs.
Yep.
And
it just happens.
This is the same way. You just pay the mana and it moves from sideboard to hand. So
correct.
The reason it's a special game action is so you can't Sorcerer's Spyglass it or Pithing Needle it, because it'd be super weird to Sorcerer's Spyglass a card that's outside the game.
Right.
So it's cool hand, I'm going to name that card that's in your sideboard. Right.
Also, I don't even know if that would work though, because this ability is not an ability of the card.
Yeah, it is just
so
an ability
even if
of
it
the
did
game.
even if it did use the stack, I don't think you could still Spyglass it.
Yeah, but they use Phyrexian Revoker as the example.
Okay.
In the actual thing, they said they don't want to be able to Phyrexian Revoker it.
Yeah.
You no longer cast it from your sideboard. You have to bring it into your hand, which gives more room for interplay. The Thoughtseize, Thought Erasure thing.
Right. It also has a tempo disadvantage.
Yes. Because you're going to burn some turn or some part of a turn on getting that card.
I mean, depending on which companion it is, it might be a whole turn. Loritz wants to come down relatively early.
Yeah, 3 or 4, usually on 4.
Yeah, so if you've got to put Loris in your hand on turn 4 now, you've burned a whole turn.
Yeah, and you don't get to build your board out.
Right.
Yeah. So this change probably most negatively impacts the low mana cost companions. So all the 3 mana cost companions are 6, but on the installment plan, right? You can pay 3 and then 3.
I agree with that part. I don't know that it only affects the cheap ones, though. I would argue that Obosh is pretty bad now.
It impacts them more because you've effectively doubled their mana cost. Matt Nass made a point in a video today that if you look at the percentage increase of the cost of the card, right, you've doubled the cost of Loris. Yeah. But then for the 5-drop ones, you've increased it by 60%. But the reason Obosh gets punished so much is the decks that Obosh goes in want to go 1-1-1, 3.
Yeah.
1-1-1, Obosh.
Right. You don't want to take that 4th turn off to put it in your hand.
Yeah, you can't and still maintain pressure. So you have to.
Yeah, that was kind of my thinking.
It's more that the deck that Obosh goes in punishes you for having to pay that 3 mana. Mm-hmm. Where
I think that's the only expensive one that I can think of, though, that it really matters. Because Karuga, you probably don't care a whole lot about because it's just gonna get you value whenever. So if there's a lull in a turn, you can just put it in your hand.
Yeah.
Yorion, we're gonna talk about at the end of this, but that one's not really punished for this at all.
Yeah. So the thing with Karuga is I think Karuga's hurt because the deck building restraint there is realer than most.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, then you have to pay 3 mana to get it into your hand. So it's hurt because its constraint is not as free as the other ones. And then on top of it, you're punished by having to play that extra 3. So I was pointing out in our chat today that like this still doesn't fix the you start with an extra card. Is now not in your hand, but you just have a card that is 3 mana, draw the best card in your deck.
Well, see, we're kind of getting into a discussion that I really want to have on the show sometime, but I haven't had enough time to put all of my thoughts down on paper, and I think it's a show that has to be on paper before we do it.
Okay.
But it's like the value of a card. Like, what is a card worth? And like 3 mana is like, that's a reasonable cost for a card.
I mean, if you think about like divination, right? You pay 3 mana for divination and you end up 1 card. Right? You turn the divination into 2 freshies. Right. You had 4 cards in your hand, you cast divination, you ended up with 5 cards.
Right. And they're random. It's a little bit different than doing this, but like what I was thinking was like a tutor effect. Like we've had Diabolic Tutor in Standard a bunch of times lately. Yeah. And it doesn't see play. Like 4 mana, go get a card is not good enough.
4 mana, get a card from your sideboard is busted.
Is it though?
I mean, we've had 2
Mastermind's Acquisition wasn't busted.
That was the most miserable best of 1 deck ever.
I don't think it was busted.
It was the best control deck in the format by far. Like, not even close. That was the only control deck you could play. You can argue that it's partly because of Kaya's Wrath. Yeah. But, like, that card shouldn't be playable, and it is because it gave you the flexibility to go to your sideboard. And same thing with, like, what is it? Granted, the Fae of Wishes, right? The fact that it gets to be like a 1/4 flying blocker early game, plus it has 4 mana, get a card from your sideboard, is like what makes that card work. And now, granted, that card is less good when you don't have a certain Infinite 4 red mana, a 4 mana red enchantment.
Yeah,
but yeah, like 4 mana, get a card is usually not good enough, but the difference there is you like burn a draw step to get that card. Right on turn 6, if you hit all your lands and it's Loris time, you got your draw for turn 6, plus you paid 3 mana to get your Loris. So like on that turn, you drew 2 cards.
That's true. I hadn't thought about it that way. I forgot of the cost of the card.
Yeah, so like, you know, Mastermind's Acquisition puts an extra 4 on everything. And like when you need Mastermind's Acquisition, when you need the card that you have the acquisition to get, you like use that draw step. But like you could be like, okay, I need a Loris, but I also can get out of this with a Deafening Clarion.
Right.
And then you can draw the Deafening Clarion, cast it, and then still get the Loris. So, yeah, there is an argument there, but of like how punishing 3 mana is.
Yeah, like we kind of alluded to, I think that depends on the companion.
Yeah, I still think there's gonna be decks that will free roll companions because why not?
Yeah, I mean, we have determined, like our question going into Ikoria was, how much is a 15th of your sideboard worth, right? And that would determine how good companions are. Turns out a 15th of your sideboard isn't worth a whole lot.
It's effectively 0.
Yeah, so there are certainly decks that happen to meet the deck building requirement, and for little to no cost, at some point over a 15-round tournament, you might want to pay 3 mana to draw a creature.
Yeah, I mean, the example I thought of were the control decks. Like LSV has talked about in the past, he plays blue-white control and Pioneer. And it's creatureless. You put Kahira in your sideboard.
Yeah.
So you just always have a 3/2. Right? You lose the flexibility of that 3/2 just being like turn 3, play a 3/2. Right?
Like in a control deck, it's a little different too, because your goal is to get your opponent to no action.
Yeah.
Once you get your opponent to no action, it doesn't matter what you kill him with. It's the whole ham sandwich thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and a 3/2 vigilance is a fine ham sandwich.
Right, yeah. It'll do the job eventually.
Yeah, so it's more of you had the flexibility before of your opponent goes 1-drop, 2-drop. you can play your Kahira and just have it trade off, have it be a removal spell.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You lose that flexibility because you can't cast it on turn 3.
Right.
But you still have I'm up some percentage of a card.
Right.
We've gone from it being clearly 100% an entire card.
At least one card, yeah.
Yes. To being some non-zero number of cards.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not quite sure what that number is.
Yeah.
Is that number like half a card? Is it 80% of a card, so it's dumb not to play your companion?
Yeah.
Right? So...
Time will tell.
Yeah, time will tell. Like, I don't think they have another bite of the apple, which kind of worries me.
You mean going back in and making another change?
Yeah. Like, they did something completely and totally unprecedented.
Yeah.
And if they missed, whoo doggy, we got problems.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if they can go back. I liked the idea of just going down a card. Just going from you draw your 7 mm-hmm. and you put one on the bottom. You just always London mulligan if you reveal a companion.
Yeah. I don't hate that. See, this is a little different too, because like this change in particular kind of benefits the decks that I like to play anyway.
Yeah, the longer, grindier decks where you're going to hit your land drops and be able to use your thing eventually.
Yeah, and like also decks that want to apply pressure, you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
if you're going to take some portion of a turn off to gain access to your companion, like I like to play decks that will punish you for that. So I guess I'm having a little bit harder of a time, seeing this as not a great move than some other people. Just because it kind of benefits the way that I play anyway.
Yeah, I guess I'm just more along the lines of if you start with a 7.5 card hand, is that still too good?
Yeah, I mean, it might be.
And you are right that it does benefit longer game decks.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But I just worry that we're still going to be in the same kind of space in mm-hmm. older formats where the restrictions are a joke.
Well, I think that this restriction's even worse if you go back in time, though.
It is, but
the current Jund deck that runs Lurrus.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to play Lurrus anymore. They're going to go back to old Jund. I can almost guarantee it.
Very well. Yeah, because you do lose the, bobble...
Yeah.
The bobble engine that you get to start on turn 3.
Right.
Right? But, those red-black Lurrus decks that are, Thoughtseize, Kroxa, and, you're trying to run your opponent out of resources,
mm-hmm.
right? If you just have a Lurrus, right, it goes back to the ham sandwich thing, right? Jund won with, Raging Ravines.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Raging Ravine's a pretty good ham sandwich, though.
It is a good ham sandwich. But my point is, if you always have your Raging Ravine, right? Raging Ravine gets bigger, but you're like, yo, here's my 3/2.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's still not awful. You're you run your opponent out of cards, and then your top deck for a turn is something plus the Lurrus that you get to play.
Yeah.
I'm bummed because I think it makes Gyruda not good in Legacy. So, sadness.
I think that's to be determined, though.
It could still be good. There are still definitely, you lose the turn 1 explosive kills, but you still have, you can still turn 2 people pretty consistently.
Yeah.
And maybe even, safer.
Yeah, I forget who I saw talking about it, but somebody was talking about Gyruda and Legacy still being a thing.
Yeah, LSV talked about it, and then his the line he mentioned involved you discarding your Gyruda, and I was like, no, LSV. Matt Nass was like, yeah, that doesn't work. And he was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Because he's like, oh, you just go, land Chrome Mox, and then you put Gyruda in your hand turn 1, and then you, play a Lion's Eye. And Matt Nass was like, no, that's not, no. He's like, oh, yeah, you're right. No, it could still be good. It just, you lose that, I'm going to mulligan to 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds and clown you.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to mulligan to 3 Lion's Eye Diamonds.
Well, that's a lot harder to do.
It is a lot harder to do. You have way less turn 1 hands.
Mm-hmm.
But it is weird that they decided to like change the mechanics so it changes the wording on the card.
Yeah, I didn't actually realize that until you were just reading it right before we started this.
Like I said, I feel like the safest thing to do is for it to be the 7th card in your hand, as opposed to being anything more than 7.
Yeah.
And I feel like the rule they're making is very much geared to, we want these to see competitive play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, you mulligan to 6. Now you're starting at parity. So now you're asking a question, is it worth it for me to make this deck building constraint if I'm starting at parity with my opponent?
Right.
It's like I could play Old Jund with Liliana of the Veil and have 7 cards in my hand, or I could play Loris Jund and have 6 cards in my hand and Loris in my sideboard.
Yeah.
Which is better? Right? Then you have like an actual like conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You clearly have a conversation. And now the conversation is, I start with 7 cards in Liliana in my deck, or I start with 7 cards and a Loris in my sideboard that I have to pay 3 for. And like, I think there's a greater chance that we end up back at, you just play Loris, as opposed to, I think if it was 6 cards in a Loris, maybe Jund like bifurcates into traditional Liliana Jund and Loris Jund, and maybe it's some tournaments to have been on Loris and some tournaments to be on Lily. But if it is enough of an extra card, it might just be we circle all the way back to it's not a question anymore. So that's my concern, is that if it circles back to 80% of the decks are on companions, then how do you fix that?
I'm skeptical that we have to worry about it, but I guess time will tell. I mean, there's no way for us to know right now.
Yeah, so I think this is the first time they've ever gone in and eroded rules for competitive balance.
Yeah, I mean, they've made changes before, but never for something like this.
Yeah. It will be good that, there is the constraint that you do have to pay, but I still think that we're going to just have, like, the Yorion decks in particular, I think they're going to be different because they don't have fires anymore. But
well, we didn't talk about that yet.
Oh, yeah. Fine.
So let's do that, and then we'll come back around to what the meta is going to look like.
Okay. So the actual cards that were banned.
Yep. We had Agent of Treachery is banned in Standard and suspended in Historic, and Fires of Invention is banned in Standard, suspended in Historic.
We'll start with the Fires ban first.
Okay.
I think it's a little clearer to see why they did it. You can't make this change to companions and then have a card that makes it so you don't use your lands.
Yeah, I mean, this would clearly benefit one deck in the format that's already tier 0.75.
Yeah, you couldn't add a mana cost to your companions and then leave Fires in the format.
Because then you just ignore that, basically.
Yeah,
you use your mana to get your companion. And
then you've made no change.
Right.
It'll be good that at least some percentage of the people won't be playing Hearthstone anymore.
Yeah. They also mentioned, I don't know if you read the whole announcement, but they also mentioned in the announcement that there is something that they are printing soon that they were worried about Fires with, which is mildly terrifying.
Yeah, like it does.
They weren't worried about current meta, but they are worried about this thing that's coming.
It better not be a creature.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did see that where they're like, it has like cramped design space.
They said that there was a card coming in particular that they were worried about the interaction with Fires with. It's not just like blanket design space they were worried about. There is something in print that they're worried about. Is
it just like 1 mana, remove, can only cast 2 spells a turn from target card? Your hand, like, and it draws you 2. It's like 1 green and it draws you 2 and it lets you just go off. Yeah. I don't know what that could be, but Fires was a card that I think initially I was like, well, it sucks that you can't play instants. Who's going to play this? And then I heard someone say, you get 10 mana on turn 5. And I went, oh. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how they let you get 10 mana on turn 5 out the door.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, here's a 4 mana card that doubles your mana.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong there. And then like 2 sets later, they print Migratory Path, which is a 4 mana card that gives you 2 more lands. It increases your land count by 50%. And the red thing just doubles your mana at all points. It seems like a bad design. I'm glad it's gone away. We'll at least get back to some semblance of interactive Magic, though I worry that Teferi will take care of that.
Yet to be printed Teferi or current Teferi?
Current Teferi.
Okay.
Right. I did read it. So people were like, why didn't you ban Teferi?
Yeah.
And I read an interesting take from just a random person on the Twitterverse that was like, they can't ban Teferi because all of the flash cards are too good.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
And the only thing that's keeping Flash out of the metagame is Teferi. Because that blue-black Flash deck was a good deck.
Yeah.
It just had problems trading 1-for-1 because of companions, and it could never beat a resolved Teferi. And, or if you played like the blue-green Flash deck, it's just like, like that deck can never beat a resolved Teferi.
Yeah.
And if there's no Teferi to resolve, then we're just all playing like Flash Mirrors.
Oh, God.
Which could be interesting Magic for a bit.
For a week, yeah.
Yeah, but then everyone would be like, you know what I want to do? I just want to cast a creature. And I can never resolve a creature. It's awful.
Yeah.
So it might be that, like, they've pushed too many Flash threats. And so Teferi makes it so if Teferi goes away, then those cards might be too good. Which was just an interesting take. I was like, there are an inordinate number of cards that have Flash on them and are good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been weird for the last year, like why they keep printing all of these cards.
Yeah, that's really, and I guess I really didn't think about that. It's really weird that, like, I don't know, go 2 years ago, and if I told you I was going to register Simic for an event, I'd have got laughed at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because Simic was awful.
It was awful. Forever, it was awful. And now fast forward to today, and we have like 2 distinct, very good, or 3 distinct, very good Simic decks.
Yeah. Just purely Simic or Simic Splash another color? Because if it's Simic Splash another color, we have a bunch more than that, I think.
Well, I mean, I was counting like the Bant or Sultai like ramp decks as a Simic deck.
Okay.
They're basically a Simic deck.
But you have like Bant, you have...
And then you got Mutate, you got Flash. If you want to count Teamer Adventures. Yeah, and I guess
that's another blue-green deck.
Is a Teamer deck.
Wilderness Wreck. Like, basically, you're just playing blue-green in all of Standard. This was something that I complained about 6 months ago. That was like, everything's just blue-green. It's like Jeskai or blue-green. Yeah. And I think we're going to go back to that. I was Martin Yuza tweet was like, I think we're just going to pull back to what we had before, which is like the same 5 decks we've been playing for 6 months. Okay, so we got rid of fires.
Yeah.
So we're going to play spells on our opponent's turn. We're going to have the right amount of mana when you play red. This is good. And then they got rid of Agent of Treachery.
Yeah.
Mr. Steal Yo Lands.
On turn 3.
Turn 3 or 4. So I wasn't a huge fan of this ban. Not because I don't think that Agent of Treachery... No, Agent of Treachery is miserable. Okay. But I think Agent of Treachery is the symptom of a larger problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've talked about this before.
And not the problem.
I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but...
Yeah, right. Like, the fact that blue-green has Growth Spiral, Uro, and Nissa, another thing that doubles your mana. Right, we're just going to go back to Fires as a way, so we're just going to play a bunch of Forests and Nissa.
Well, I think that was my first comment. Like, if you look at our group chat today.
Yeah. It's like, it's Nissa time?
stuff. Nissa's gonna. What did I say? Nissa's gonna return valiantly, riding her Hydroid Crisis.
Yes, and that's what we're gonna get back to. Yeah. But like, you've got all these ways that you can play your 7 mana thing on turn 5.
Yeah.
Or on turn 4, depending on like if you have like the nut draw. Oh, I guess I forgot Arboreal Grazer. A card that R&D was like, we never thought this was constructed playable.
I thought that card was great the minute I set eyes on it. I remember picking up foils at pre-release.
They were like, yeah, we didn't think that was actually playable.
No, that card's good. Modern playable.
Whoopsie. Yeah. But you have all these ways to get big mana, and the best thing to be doing with your big mana was Agent.
Right.
So we've taken out the payoff, but we haven't fixed the problem that you still just make stupid amounts of mana.
Yeah.
Right, so... Well, the payoff for all this big mana was Agent, and now it's going to be Hydroid Crisis. Yep. And they have a design space constraint now of both Luca and Winota. Right? You could not make a high mana cost human that does anything when it comes into play.
Because, otherwise the format's just broke again.
Yeah, then Winota's just busted. And you can't make a high mana cost any creature that comes in the battlefield and does something, because then Luca's busted.
Right.
So, like, if they print, like...
I mean, Luca might still just be busted. Like Luca into Endraiser or something?
Yeah, it could be. Like, where you just are, like... You just play, like, a token deck, and then you, like, slam Luca, sack a token, give them all +2/+2 and trample?
Right.
Yeah, that might be good enough, folks. Right? Or, like, you get to play, like, is it Goblin Instigator? Like the 2-mana guy?
Yeah.
Right? I guess that's hard. We've already talked about this, where you can't have that and then sack a token. Like, if they kill your Instigator. But roll the dice. Daddy needs to hit not an Instigator. But, so you're Naya, and you play...
Raise the Alarm, Omen of the Sun.
Raise the Alarm, Omen of the Sun, and the Akroan games.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. There are all your token makers.
Yep.
And there's got to be some red ones that I'm not thinking of right now. And then you're just like, cool. Here's Luca.
Perforos's Intervention.
And it's a removal spell. It's flexible.
There you go.
But yeah, like, the fact that Luca is converted mana cost higher than the sacrificed creature, it's just mind-boggling.
Right.
Like polymorphs are always lower converted mana.
No, this goes up.
Yeah, which mind-boggling. Yeah, I think that we're still gonna have like these big mana decks, and then for the next like year and a half, like they can't really print a good 9-drop or a good 8-drop or something.
Like they can't even really print mediocre ones.
Yeah.
Like we were talking last night about, maybe doing like a Pioneer, like Winota thing. So I was looking for expensive humans to run into.
I totally bought the deck today.
Did you?
Yeah. I was
half the ones I came up with on that Gatherer search were like draft chaff though. Like they weren't good cards at all.
But when they cost 0 mana, they're busted.
Well, yeah. Anything with like even a remotely mediocre enter the battlefield ability, that's reasonably sized is potentially a good hit.
Okay, so I am not telling you when to buy this card, so just pump your brakes. But as an example of this that I bought 4 of, is Sirach Dragonclaw.
Yeah.
I did the same Gatherer search / Scryfall search you did, and totally glossed over that card. And you were like, well, this has this ability. I went, I didn't even see that card. That card I did put together a teamer deck in that standard format, and I went to visit my parents, and I played in F&M in Ohio.
Yeah.
And smushed everyone. And they came over like, your deck's so cool. Got Sirach Dragonclaw in it, Savage Knuckleblade. But,
give them the knocks.
Yeah, but that card didn't do anything, but it's like, oh man, if I like slam a 6/6 trampler that gives all my stuff trample on turn 3,
yep,
I think I'm fine.
I think so.
And that's kind of where it's like Fatal Push this 5-drop. That's
you go like Rabble Master into Winota into that, and you're swinging with a reasonably sized Rabble Master.
Yeah, it's like
that now has trample.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah. GG's.
Yeah, you get multiple triggers in that scenario.
You do, yeah.
Yeah, you do. So, yeah, I think that just the things that they keep giving us to cheat on mana just are a problem.
Mm-hmm.
If we had one thing that was fringe, and when it worked, you felt like truly alive.
Yeah.
Fine. You were like, you know what? I put together this bad deck or this like mediocre deck, but it did the awesome big mana thing. This is great. Right? And then you get like rolled by anyone who plays a mountain.
Right.
You're like, okay, you know what? This is fine. I came here to cast a 12-drop on turn 5, and I did, and this is great.
Yeah.
But
a good example of that, I don't know if you remember or not, but back in like BFZ standard, there was that red-green ramp deck. It was like explosive veg into Ulamog.
Yeah, there was a later one in like Shadows where they still had Ulamog, and it was like green-white, and they ramped into Ulamog.
Yep.
But yeah, you were like, I'm going to go huge. And you like had to build a deck that could go huge.
Right.
And now
you build a reasonable mid-range deck that also goes huge.
But like 4 turns earlier than you could ever go huge before.
Right.
Right. And so, like, they're just in this weird spot that any big human just goes in as the payoff for Winota. And any big anything is just now the payoff in, like, a Luca deck.
We're going back to Zendikar, you know.
We are. Oh, God. You are. Okay. The difference here is you brought this up, that Rosewater has said before he went back to return to the Rise of the Eldrazi.
Yeah.
He wanted to go back to return to Zendikar with traps and like the whole D&D adventure feel.
Yeah.
So, though you might be right, there might just be like some random colorless like 10-drop.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be colorless. It can just be a big thing.
Yeah, I was just saying like it could just be like an Eldrazi, like Ulamog Shadow or something.
Yeah.
Where it's just a big dumb idiot that you're like, oh, I can just pay no mana and get this?
Sure.
In.
Sack 2 permanents.
Yeah. Yeah. So he comes in and you sack. They get to choose what permanents they sack as opposed to you just taking them.
Right.
Yeah, I just worry that we're just in a situation where Agent wasn't good, but it wasn't the problem.
Right. Agent by itself isn't a good card. Like if you have that available to you without the ramp payoff or the cheating it into play, even if like Agent was just, say there was a Reanimator deck, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Agent was the payoff for the Reanimator deck, that wouldn't even be like the worst thing in the world.
Oh,
but
when you said Agent's not a good card, I thought you meant like Agent is a poorly designed card that should not exist.
No. I meant like
it's
actually not a good card. Like this was any other standard, it would not be a good card.
Yeah, right. We've all played enough Magic, and if you haven't yet, you will. That
hopefully at some point.
We all looked at Agent and we're like, oh, that's unplayable.
Yeah, it's a draft bomb. That's all it is.
It is. It's like, bomb. Oh, hey, you get this in your draft. You build the blue-green deck, and you cast your Agent, and you win your game.
Yeah,
but you're like, that's no way that's good enough for a standard. The problem is that card is ridiculous when it's control magic 2 blue on a 2/3
that you can blink.
And being able to cast it on or get it on the battlefield on turn 4, makes it control magic on a body that you can blink.
Yeah, and I mean there's like a whole nother like side to this discussion too about consistency that we've talked about on the show a couple times, but I had this talk with I think some of the guys in our commander chat about consistency and how like all of the problems that we've had over the last year or however long it's been have all been due to consistency. And that's the problem with Agent is like all these ways to cheat it into play are super consistent. You hit it with Winota. It's consistent. You don't have to draw it. You just find it and you get to play it for free. Same thing with Luca. You get the Luca, there's the hoops to jump through to find the card and play it for free are almost none.
Yeah, and the 4-color Luca decks are playing Neoform. So they're like going 3-drop that makes a token, usually like Legion Warboss, into Neoform, get my Winota, get 2 triggers, and look at 12 cards to find 1 agent, and you might hit 2.
Right.
And so with the fact that like with Neoform that you have 8 copies of your Winota, like that's just too many copies of that effect.
Can you imagine if we still had Once Upon a Time?
Ugh. Yeah, we do have a consistency problem, right? You still have to draw your Luca, but once you draw your Luca, like you know that you're always going to hit your finisher.
Yep.
Right? Luca is your 5-mana finisher. And like that's not typically okay.
Right.
And
that sticks around.
Yeah, that sticks around. Yeah. I think LSV was talking about the fact that it's double polymorph, and that's just not okay, because if you polymorph into something, in this case agent, and they have an agent plus another polymorph effect that they have to deal with.
Yeah.
Right? So now whatever you polymorph into is going to be like a reasonable card. And then you still have your Luca for another polymorph.
Right.
Right? Like let's say that Tristani was a good enough payoff, right? Like you just get to go like, okay, cool, get a Tristani, get 2 tokens, get another Tristani, or I guess maybe what's the blue thing that makes 2 like Mesmeric Benthic?
Oh yeah, makes 2 illusions.
Yeah. So okay, cool. I get my hexproof guy, and I sack one of my illusions, and I get another one. Right? So, like, Luca can account for 2 threats, plus then start ticking up to maybe draw another card.
Yeah.
And, like, you just end up with too many threats out of that one card if you build your deck in any kind of, like, reasonable way.
And, I mean, that kind of goes back to the snowball discussion that we've had on the show before also.
Yeah. That Luca is kind of its own snowball.
Yep.
Agent being gone is good. Because it should make things a little bit better.
Yep.
We should mention that both Agent and Fires were suspended in Historic.
Yeah, they don't like outright ban things in Historic, is that right?
They can. They put them in timeout first and then reevaluate.
Yeah. Agent, you've been a bad boy. Go sit in the corner.
Some of the first tweets were like, these aren't even the problem cards in Historic.
Yeah.
The best deck in Historic right now is Naya Winota. It just wins on turn 4. Apparently, Jeff Hoogland did a Hooglandia Invitational.
Hooglandia Invitational, okay. And did everybody have to dress up as an owl?
I could only hope. I was looking for Historic Winota lists to just get a sense of what the deck looked like. I think of the top 12, I think like 6 to 8 of them were Naya Winota decks.
Wow.
So, yeah, like that's not even the problem. But I think they're just going to be of the mindset if it gets banned in Standard, maybe we should pump the brakes in Historic.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So, what is our metagame going to look like going forward in Standard? I've not played enough Historic to have any opinions over some just random things that I've seen. So
yeah, I haven't played any Historic, so I just meant Standard. I think that's what most of our listeners play anyway. Obviously, Fires is gone, so that opens up a little bit about what you can do in the format.
Yes.
Same like that goes with Agent also. I still think there is an Uro Nissa deck in the format.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, obviously it's got to change a little bit without Agent, but that shell is super powerful, and with better ways to cheat out Agent, like that's kind of one of the things that I look for when I'm building a deck, is I come up with a game plan and, kind of a rough idea of what I want to do, and then see if there's another deck that does that better.
I mean, this standard was the perfect example of that. Because Jeskai, Luca, Yorian, Fires, right? It put agents on the battlefield on turn 5 consistently. Mm-hmm. Winota put agents on the battlefield on turn 4. Right. Or turn 3. So it was like, well, the best thing to do is agent people. Cool. Mm-hmm. This does it turn 5. This does it turn 3 or turn 4. I want the turn 3 or the turn 4 version. Yep. We're going to go from, agent out of Bant was turn 6 or turn 5 you could agent. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't fast enough to keep up.
Right. Even something like our the CTH Sultai list. Yeah. Didn't agent fast enough.
No. Oh, that deck might be playable now.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going, is that like a deck like that gets better again.
Yeah, it actually, you just kind of turn your agent slots into more crises.
Oh, that deck actually might get good, because you can play Brokos too with all that self-mill.
Oh, is that the one that
you can mutate out of your graveyard?
Yeah, that's reasonable. Or you can splash white for the one that brings back a bunch of things from your graveyard.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You could...
Yeah, that works too.
You need Tameo and Uro, but just splashing a little bit of white, you could have a turn where you just mutate that guy and bring in a bunch of Mire Tritons and Thassa's Oracle and stack your triggers so you mill yourself over and then Oracle and win the game.
Yep.
So there could be some life there. Maybe I'll enjoy Standard again if we can play Magic.
What about the companions being nerfed? Does that take anything away or open anything up? I think cycling's still fine, right?
Yeah. So I have this tweet from Martin Yusa that I just want to talking about the meta game. Okay. He's like, I like the bans, but I don't think it freshens the format. It's the same old Bant, Ramp, Teamer, Wreck, Jun, Sack, Clover format we played for the past 5 months, plus cycling minus fires, which it does probably revert back to, at least initially, those decks. Right? I was enjoying a no cat format. Yeah. But I think those days are gone. Mm-hmm. And the next part of the tweet is, give it 1 or 2 weeks and everyone will be complaining about Teferi, Uro, and Reclamation.
Probably.
Uro's an issue.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's the case, though, because in 1 to 2 weeks, we're going to be into Core 21.
And no one's going to care about the standard format again. And they're all going to be, brewing new stuff from spoilers, because spoilers start Thursday.
Yeah, I have some Core 21 stuff that I didn't put in the show notes that I want to talk about, too, so let me know when you're ready for that.
All right, we will get it in there. Yeah, so I think we're going to kind of move back to those core decks that we have been seeing. Mm-hmm. And if the format settles, that's when, I think you can make a deck that will attack a specific metagame. Mm-hmm. Right? He doesn't have mono red in here. And I think we've all forgot how good Embercleave is because we've not had to play against it.
Right. The Obosh decks couldn't play it, and it was wrong to not play Obosh.
Yeah.
So, but now Obosh is unplayable, so.
Yeah, so you're you forget about going 1-drop into
Steamkin into Annex into Embercleave.
Yeah, into Embercleave. Yeah, you forget about that draw. Mm-hmm. Where the game just ends with a, giant Annex. So that's still gonna be a thing. So I don't know if the slower Uro decks can keep up with those draws. Mm-hmm. Right? So they have to try to change some to account for those. And if you're Bant, you lose Deafening Clarion, which help hold the red decks in check.
Yeah.
Like, I think we go back to Thorough Standard.
Oh, you think we're just straight up Thorough Standard again?
I think we're back to Thorough Standard because the cards that had the biggest impact in Standard were the companions. At least initially, I think people are going to run back to the old Thorough Standard decks and then start seeing if the companions are good enough.
So this goes into effect on Thursday?
Yes.
So what are you going to sleeve up on Thursday on Arena?
I would probably play Cycling because I'm lazy and don't want to build anything else. Or I could see messing around with like the Sultai deck. And like putting a Brokos on a Mire Triton is just good, honest living. Trample and Death Touch.
My kind of magic.
Yeah. He does have Trample, right?
Brokos gives Trample, yeah.
So Trample and Death Touch. There we go.
Yep.
Like that deck could be like workable. But I think that deck's better when you kind of know what you're targeting so you can like build your flex slots.
Oh, I agree.
Right. I think going into like a wide metagame with that or like an unknown metagame, you're going to have a bunch of cards that aren't optimal.
Yeah.
But you'll still have draws that are good enough.
So last week we had to cut a section.
Yes.
Because we ran out of time. I would like to do that section this week.
Okay.
I think now is a pretty good time to get into it.
Sure.
Our adopted deck for last week was Simic Mutate. I've been playing it this week too. I didn't update any of my numbers or anything. But we'll go into, what we thought about the deck. But real quick, piggybacking off what we were just talking about, what do you think about Simic Mutate going into this new meta?
The thing I worry about is though the deck can change some, that is very creature heavy. And if Yorion is still the best companion, if that does get played, that's going to get played in like blue-white control decks.
Yeah.
And it's going to get played in like Bant Ramp. And this deck having so many creatures makes it really vulnerable to like Shatter the Sky. Yeah.
It's also not great against Teferi because you're trying to go tall, not wide.
Yeah, and sometimes I don't mind when they bounce your stuff with Teferi because you're like, sweet, I'm just going to get all this value again.
Yeah.
But if they bounce your thing and then you get some value and then it all gets swept away, if that value isn't enough to make up for the cards that you lost, because Migratory Greathorn is great getting your lands, but it doesn't feel good if you like got some extra lands and then they sweep away like 3 actual cards.
Right.
Yeah, I think the deck might have to change some. The sideboard's going to change because Amori takes probably the second biggest hit other than Obosh.
Yeah, it kind of completely negates the cost reduction, right?
Yeah, you can't... Like, you don't want to play it on turn 7.
Right.
Because you've already played all your stuff.
Yeah.
Now, granted, there were definitely games where I just never played the Amori.
I found myself only playing Umori if I had kind of a lackluster hand and had like a lull in action. Yeah. I never really was like setting up a future turn by counting on having a cost reduction.
There were times though that like it was the best possible thing you could do on turn 3. Like you were like ramp spell, some ramp, either a Royal Grazer or Paradise Druid, and then you just play a 4/5 brick wall. Like, your opponent's on mono red, and they're like, 1 drop, 1 drop, 1 drop, and you're like, 4/5.
Yeah.
And that could let you hold the ship enough until you could hold the fort enough until you could, actually start getting your value. I think that, like, losing that can be a problem, but we were talking before the show that you still have the Polywog Symbiote?
Yeah, the other cost reducer.
Baby Godzilla. That reduces your cost. So you have a lot of that effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like another thing that, we had mentioned before the show or whatever is that this deck is kind of unique because your like ramp early kind of turns into your threats late game. So you really don't care a whole lot about drawing something stupid later in the game because you can just kind of turn it into something good.
Yeah, and the
ramp kind of does double duty.
Yeah, the Polywog also helps with that. I know you have in the notes that the cycling is like lackluster, But the number of times I had like a Grazer and a land in my hand and then drew a Mutate creature and then got to just run through a bunch of cards to get to like keep going.
Yeah.
Because the Polylog was A+.
Yeah, what I meant by my statement about the looting being kind of mediocre was just that a lot of times, I'd find myself later in the game playing off the top of my deck, and I would like mutate and then like have to discard a Starix. And you're like, no.
Yeah, that is true. Where you're just like, why am I going through my entire deck? Like, why isn't this like a May or something?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if like
it was just kind of awkward.
Yeah, I don't know if like if you had Dreamtail Heron would fix
maybe.
that, so you just had more cards in your hand.
Maybe.
But the fact that Starix casts them effectively. Yeah. Okay, just another thing. Starix also, like, if the Mutate deck is even any semblance of like reasonable, you can't print like a 10-mana idiot.
That's true.
Because it's just like, I'm gonna like build a whole deck that Starix is into this thing. Like, okay, let's go. Like, eventually I'm just going to, like, put 2 of them on the battlefield.
Like, End-Raise Forerunners.
Yeah, End-Raise Forerunners. That card is almost insta-concede from opponents.
Yeah.
It hits, and they're just like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah. I've even, like, hard-cast it a couple times.
Oh, yeah, you get so many lands in that deck.
Yeah.
That it's just free.
Yeah. I know I have some potential changes written down here, but these were all, pre-knowing what the changes in bans were going to be. Actually, I think all these changes I wrote down were even pre-announcement of bans.
Yeah.
So what would you like to see out of this deck, like, going forward?
So I was high on Gemrazor when you had, especially when you had fires to worry about, because it gave you a main deck way to just eat a fires.
Right.
And it could also just be a clock, right? You could go Grazer into Gemrazor and have a 4/4 Trampler on turn 2, or Grazer into, you have down here Greathorn, and you got a 3/4. And on turn 2. So I was up. Like, I was up 1 Grazer. I was like, the list that Manguchi that we had used as kind of a starting point had 3 End-Raise Forerunners and 2 Grazers, and I went down a Forerunners, up a Grazer. So I
went up to 2 Gemrazors.
Oh, you went up 2?
I was on the full. I did, yeah.
Okay. And I think with less fires, the thing that the deck really lacks is interaction. And, like, you are a big fan of the Pouncing Shore Shark.
Yes, I love the Shore Shark.
And I think that you could maybe trim some number of Grazers for Shore Sharks if the only, like, enchantment you really have to worry about now is Wilderness Wreck.
Well, you have to worry about Wilderness Wreck. If you're thinking that blue-white control with Yorion's going to be a thing, they're, like, spot removals, all, like, Banishing Lights and stuff.
Fair.
Which is another great reason to play Gemrazor.
Yeah, I guess the thing that I've got to get out of my head is the, like, mono white enchantment deck.
Yeah.
I think is unplayable without just the 8th card that is Loris.
Probably.
Or close.
That deck is definitely a lot worse.
Or close to unplayable. And the number of games I just lost to, they made a big lifelinker that I didn't have a way to interact with. And, like, if you have, like, a Shore Shark, you're, like, mutate onto it, try to bounce your thing, you have to burn one of your protection spells. Next turn, mutate onto it, try to bounce your thing. And just having a repeatable way to, like, make them burn protection spells would have gone a long way in that deck.
No, I love Shore Shark.
Yeah. So, like, Gemrazor, I multiple times was like blow up 2 enchantments a turn.
Yeah.
And they still were able to, like, assemble Voltron, but they no longer have, like, Loris to be the Voltron master. I don't remember who drove the Voltron guy. There were lions involved. But
it was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. I kind of vaguely remember what they look like, but it was a long time ago. And I mean, I guess Loris is a honorary Voltron lion, so it all makes sense.
Yeah.
But like that deck really asked you to have some interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And this deck lacked that. So maybe access to Shore Shark in the main deck or the sideboard to let you like push decks back. Just the tempo hit of being able to on turn 3 like bounce an Annex.
Mm-hmm.
So that like you don't just get run over the next turn, and that could be enough for you to like bounce your Annex and then like Star X, bounce your Annex again, put 4 permanents onto the battlefield.
Yeah.
And now the game is like stable.
So I really like the Gem Raisers. I think blowing up, artifacts, enchantments is A+ good time. I think it's relevant right now.
Yes.
And I think it'll be relevant going forward. I also really like the trample that it gave. A lot of times it lets you punch through where normally you couldn't push damage.
Yes.
So I don't particularly like cutting the Gem Raisers, and I would probably still keep running 4 of.
Okay.
Same with the Shore Sharks. I was a little bit less impressed with the Parcel Beast. I know that you liked it because it was kind of a cheap mutate guy that, you could kind of just use to get your triggers for.
Yeah.
But I found myself wanting to, get a little aggressive with it, and having to keep your guy back to activate. I really didn't like that. I wanted my guys swinging.
Yeah, it was like I used it a lot against Control as like a card advantage engine.
Mm-hmm.
Because like now they have to answer this thing.
Yeah.
And then you can like build out after they answer it. But it is awkward. Like it would have been much better if you could have been like attack with my guy.
Yeah.
Now activate it. And there's not a good thing that has vigilance that lets you do that. None of the
mutate Sealed, we were doing Farfinder stuff.
Yeah, none of the mutate creatures have vigilance. And Farfinder not good enough.
Right.
To be played. But no, I could definitely see going down on some number of Parcel Beasts. Or sideboarding them out in certain matchups. Because like you're not gaining that much. There is a difference between a 2/4 and an 0/3. But like the early Parcel Beast doesn't do that much more than a Grazer. Yeah, against like an aggressive deck.
Yeah.
Right, like if you go Grazer into Paradise Druid, you've kind of got, most of what you were going to get out of Grazer into Parcel Beast.
Yep.
So yeah, I could see cutting some of those and giving yourself just some interaction.
What do you think about like Boneyard Lurker over, like, I know you had mentioned like Dreamtail Heron, but what do you think about Boneyard Lurker as a way to, kind of rebuild after a sweeper or get a little bit of advantage? I have not
tried it. It could be good, especially with your polywogs throwing random things in your graveyard.
Yeah.
It could be reasonable, like as like a sideboard option, as I'm going to play against, this is a control deck. I need to be able to like draw some cards.
Yeah. And
just like a turn of, they've like swept something and you like play a cheap creature and then a Boneyard Lurker. And that lets you kind of like get back a card, and then they have to and you're going to get back a mutate creature.
Right.
So then you could get back another card that turn or the following turn. So no, it could be good as like a sideboard option against Control. I don't know if you want it like main deck though, because the mutate cost is a little high for what it does. Because sometimes it's sometimes it's blank.
Yeah, especially since we're losing Umori.
Yeah,
you have a little bit less cost reduction.
Yeah, it's a little much to like maybe not get back a card or like not get back something super impactful. But like, because against like red, I don't think that card's good enough.
No, you definitely don't want it against red. But 4 is not where you want to be.
Yeah, but against like Control or a grindier deck where you're like, oh, I need to just try to accrue cards, I think it's good.
Yeah.
I think you could also, this might sound weird, like a spot that you could cut some cards is a Luna.
Yeah.
Like that card is fine. Like Star X is a million times better.
The only thing I like about a Luna is it gives flying, which I guess if you're going to move towards like Dreamtail Heron, it also gives flying.
Yeah.
The evasion's nice.
Yeah, the evasion is nice. It makes it so you're not 100% all in on Endrace Forerunners.
Yeah.
Because usually what you do is you're like Starix until you've like built a board in a turn or two, and you flip an end raise Forerunners, and then you deal like 90.
Right.
But sometimes just being able to like make a 6/6 flying trample is good enough.
Yeah, I think I cut one of my Alunas for a Brokos.
Okay.
Because I figured if like you're not really going to cast the Aluna anyway, you're going to mutate it, and it mutates for Simic. Brokos also can mutate for just Simic, so you don't really need to worry about the red from Aluna or the black for Brokos.
Yeah, it can just come back.
So I had cut one for a Brokos, so that like with Poliwag, you can loot it away and then mutate it out of your graveyard, or if your thing dies, you can mutate it out of your graveyard, and you're not down a whole card.
Yeah.
So I thought, that was at least worth testing out.
Yeah.
Now, all of these changes that we just been talking about, I don't know if you actually saw this list, but Willie Edel,
in the words of Riley Knight, South American superstar,
won $2,000 at the Arena Open this weekend with Simic Mutate. You want to know what his list looked like? Did you look at it?
I have not looked at it.
It is 4 Grazer, 2 Gilded Goose, 1 Stonecoil Serpent, 4 Baby Godzilla, 4 Paradise Druid, 4 Gem Razor, 4 Great Horn, 4 Shore Shark, 4 Starix, 3 Forerunners.
Okay, no Aluna.
No Aluna, no Parcel Beast.
Okay.
He is 4 Gem Razor, 4 Shore Shark.
Yeah, I mean, Shore Shark, if you're playing against like a creature deck, like sometimes it's just the hard lock.
Yeah.
You're just like Shore Shark, bounce your thing, and then next turn you're just like mutate again, bounce your thing, and they just never get their feet under them.
Yeah, I've even beat some of the token decks by like putting 2 Shore Sharks on a thing, and just every time you mutate, you bounce 2 tokens.
Yeah, and they just can't ever keep up.
Right.
No, that's an interesting list. I think that Aluna was definitely underwhelming, and going up in end raise Forerunners gives you more things with trample. Like it just randomly gives your big things trample.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have the extra Gem Razor and the Stonecoil Serpent
yeah,
gives you more instances of just having trample
right
on your things.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that you want to do in this deck, right, you almost always want to keep a hand that has ramp. Like, you're not about playing, like, a fair game of Magic.
I think every time I mulliganed every 7 that didn't have a Grazer.
Okay, I wasn't that aggressive. I would keep hands that had Paradise Druids. And there were a few times I was like, oh, I'll just draw some ramp. Never drew the ramp and just got run over because the deck doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Unless
I wanted ramping. A Grazer every time. I found that, like, every game that I went Grazer into mutate onto Grazer was kind of easy mode, and it was like the most powerful thing the deck could do. So I wanted to maximize my chances of it. I shipped back like almost every 7 that didn't have a Grazer.
How many geese did we have? Were we playing geese at all? I don't remember.
My final list had 2. I don't know if Manguchi's list had any.
Yeah, I don't remember what I was.
Remember.
But like just a 1 mana body to make a 4/4.
Yeah,
is good.
Yep.
In the Willie Adel list, Stonecoil Serpent is also Teferi protection.
Yeah, it's also Clarion proof.
Yes. If you want to keep the Alunas, a trick is you want to put the Aluna, like if you have a Starix and you want to put an Aluna on it, you always want to put your Aluna under the Starix, so that if you put
if you hit one off of it, you can put it on the battlefield.
Yeah. So that's a little thing, but you want to ramp. You always want to keep ramp. I think you can get away with like keeping a Paradise Druid, especially like if you can go like Paradise Druid and then like turn 3, put a Migratory Greathorn on it. Now you have a 3/4 hexproof. Mm-hmm. And against a lot of decks, that just becomes the body that you stick all of your things on.
Yeah, that's another thing that we should probably mention real quick, because I found myself, quite a few games just throwing things on a Paradise Druid and never attacking or tapping it for mana, just so they couldn't touch it.
Yeah, because you just want to have that thing that you can, like, the way you win the game a lot of times is you get a Starix, that has put 12 permanents on the battlefield.
Right.
Or you have 2 Starixes on the same creature, and it's just putting piles of permanents on the battlefield. And if you can give that like super double Starix guy hexproof, then every turn it's like pay a mana, get 22 mana worth of stuff.
Yep.
And decks can't keep up with that. Like, you can just bury control decks where if they don't have a sweeper, you're just like, hey, I'm gonna put like a bunch of lands and creatures on the battlefield. You have to sweep this, and oh yeah, I have more gas in the tank.
Yeah.
And I can just quickly rebuild. So, yeah, using your Paradise Druid as like a safe space,
right,
is really important.
Yeah, I did that. I found myself doing it quite a bit, and I don't know if it's super intuitive when you first like shuffle the deck up. So I just wanted to make sure we made note of it.
Yeah, like it's not intuitive to be like, I've got a 6/6 Trampler, I better not attack.
Right.
Right, can't risk it. And it's like, usually it's like, I got a 6/6 Trampler sideways. And it's like, no, that 6/6 Trampler is going to be like, 20 mana worth of value next turn.
Yeah.
Don't touch it.
Yep.
Yeah, and like you can get blown out by Teferi. We mentioned sometimes it's good to just like kind of like get your value again. Yeah. But when you have your Paradise Druid, you can't get blown out by Teferi. You're like, Druid, mutate onto it, and they play a Teferi, and you're like, cool, I'm just going to like pile everything here, and I'm fine.
Yep.
So there you go. I think those are our thoughts on Mutate. I think it's probably still a reasonable deck.
I like it. I'm still going to play with it. Your
sideboard is freed up that you could, especially against non-Teferi decks, move some counter spells into the deck, into the sideboard.
Yeah. Willie's list actually had 3 Frilled Mystics in the sideboard.
Okay.
So even playing Omori, there was still some counter magic there.
Yeah. But going forward, I think you could have like Negate or Frilled Mystic. I guess Frilled Mystic is, it doesn't really matter because it's not like you put the Negate on the battlefield with Starix.
Starix, yeah.
But like Negate or some way to interact with, a Wilderness Reclamation would be good. So you do have a little bit more freedom there now.
Yep. Just for, to put the information out there, the sideboard for his list was 2 Brazen Borrower, 3 Questing Beast, 2 Shifting Ceratops, 3 Wicked Wolf, 3 Frilled Mystic, 1 Stonecoil Serpent.
Okay.
So, I mean, Brazen Borrower is another way to at least temporarily answer a Wilderness Wreck.
Yeah, let me see if I can find... Did he tweet out this list? Aha, here it is. It is now on our Twitter. Boom. So,
he made a lot of the changes that I was either already had made or was thinking about making, so it was kind of some nice validation.
Yeah, so I think that the deck is good going forward. It's just how is it going to fit in the rest of the metagame?
The new meta, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Yeah, so next up, Arena Time.
Arena Time.
I guess we forgot to mention something with the bans, though you guys should already be like aware of this. Cards that got banned on Arena, you're going to get your wild cards back. So you're going to get however many agents you have, you're going to get that many wild cards. Same with fires. That's going to happen on Thursday with the update. And they also changed how packs that you randomly open. Like you're just like Core 20 or Throne packs. They've made it so you will not open an agent or a fires unless they are the only rares left in that set for you to get. Yeah,
they also pulled them out of individual card rewards.
Yeah, for standard, yes.
Yep. And for historic, I think.
I don't think they were rewards for historic.
There was something in the announcement about card rewards for historic.
Yeah. But you're not going to get unplayable cards in your packs unless there's 0 other playable cards to give you at the rare slot.
Also, potentially, if you have like extra wild cards right now, it might behoove you to purchase said cards, cash those wilds in for those cards to get reimbursed. That way, if they do ever get a Pioneer on Arena, you'll have them for free.
or if they get unsuspended in historic.
Unsuspended, yeah.
Yeah, they said as long as you have them in your account by June 4th.
Yep.
So you can make a move.
Mm-hmm. Get some free cards.
Get some free cards, yeah. So next up is the Arena Open.
Yeah.
We were both bad purveyors of Magic information and did not participate in the Arena Open.
I really wanted to. I had to work on Saturday, and I had planned on getting on afterwards and playing in this tournament. But I decided to retreat to my hidey hole, and I spent some time sifting through buy lists and never got around to playing in it, even though I had wanted to.
Yeah. I've been like kind of checked out on Standard.
Yeah.
Which has happened a lot recently. But I was kind of checked out on Standard, and I was like, I don't want to spend $25 and play a format I have not thought about, like, not played. I've thought about it for you guys, but I've not, like, sat down and, like, really played in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would play cycling, but I'm like, do I know enough about what the metagame is? And the 4-color Winota deck, as decks are what to do, went from kind of a weird outlier meme kind of deck
the best deck in the format
to the best thing to do, or like the second best thing to do. And so I think that a day of just having like a Flourishing Foxes stolen and lands taken would have been less than fun. So I did not do it. From what I've seen and what you've seen, it seems like people enjoyed it.
Most of the feedback that I've seen has been pretty positive.
Yeah. There was what is it? Magic players would not be happy if you put if you put $50 bills in their packs, right? Because they would complain about how you folded the 50.
Yeah, basically.
Right. So there were people that liked it, and then there were people that were, this is gambling. This is the worst thing ever. How could you exploit people? Blah blah blah. So like no one can ever be happy. But a few people did say, like one in particular did say how many times they tried. So Emma Handy was on her third attempt when she day-two'd. She said she was giving herself 3 attempts, and on her third attempt, she made it. So it wasn't like, don't feel like if you did it and you didn't like day 2 that, everyone did it super easy. I think there were a lot of people that dumped a lot of time and money into it to try to make day 2.
I don't remember where I saw it now, whether it was on Reddit or whether it was on Twitter. Somebody that cashed on day 2 tried 6 times on day 1.
Whew.
Took them 6 tries to get through day 1,
so that's
then ended up cashing day 2.
120 or 150? 150? Okay, it was 25 a pop. Yeah,
I think it was right at $25 a pop.
Yeah. So like that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because I mean, imagine if they would have gone, if they would have got 5 wins day 2.
Right.
Maybe they eke out their 6th win and they get $1,000 and they're feeling like a genius. But if they went like, if they went 5-2, right, now they get like a bunch of gems and they're down on the gems they put in.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it's fine. I understand that some people are going to make bad decisions, but whatever, like that is everything in the world.
This is true.
It seemed good. I mean, I think they've already planned another one, haven't they? Like the end of June.
I hadn't seen that, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I thought they said that they were going to do another one shortly. Maybe. So end of June, end of July, maybe, that they're going to do another one. So this might turn into like a monthly or bi-monthly thing.
That'd be cool. I'm down with it.
Yeah. I mean, it is definitely a way for you to clean out your gem and gold reserve before the next set comes out.
Well, that was another thing that I was just thinking about while I was waiting to start recording tonight was, how we've been blasting out the daily deals and how good they are?
They've kind of dried up.
Half price. No, not necessarily that they've dried up, but they're attracting a lot of attention to that storefront where you're buying like the cosmetics and stuff.
Yeah.
So they did a whole bunch of that right before announcing a 20,000 gold tournament.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of interesting, trying to drain everybody's gems and gold before a big event.
Yeah, because I mean, their hope is that you go in to get your 550 gold for 50 gold, so you're free 500 gold and then you go like, ooh,
yeah,
I need a full art fancified thing, and it's on sale. Click.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that.
Oh,
I have bought some.
Okay, so they got you.
They got me.
So, like, it makes sense for them to try to drive traffic, but it also makes sense, like, they've done a few other things where they've done things to kind of, like, get you to play tournaments or other ways to get you to separate yourself from your gold and gems before the rotation.
Yep.
When they need you to be like, I need to put more money into this new set.
Right. That's just smart business.
It is. If Standard was better, I probably would have played in it. But I was like, I don't want to spend $20 or $25 to be like, to have it, to go 5 and 2 or just have like a general unfun time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it kind of felt like it would just lead to like an unfun time.
Yeah.
And we had someone at our store complain about the format because they were 6-1 and then got mana screwed or flooded 2 games in a row and then didn't make day 2.
Right.
And like best of 1 is at times a bit of a crapshoot.
Mm-hmm. Certainly more variance dependent than best of 3.
Yeah. It just didn't seem like it was a good use of my time. I think I ended up playing The Last of Us.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Games beat, and game is a little too real with with a pandemic that like crushes the world.
Right.
There's a part of the opening of the game, there's just like this like, you know, newsreel, and they're just like, we're trying to develop a vaccine and we just can't do it. The world waits on a vaccine. I'm like, oh God, this could just be now.
That's where we are.
Yeah, take out like fungal infection and put in viral infection, and it's like, oh man.
Yeah.
We're in the end times. We're going to flash to 20 years in the future. I'm going to have a backpack and be murdering people.
Yeah. I instead of doing this, I spent my weekend turning some garbage into actual dollar bills. And if you're interested in knowing how I did it, hop on over to our Patreon, get into our Discord chat, and I'll tell you all about it.
Yeah, I'm going to be using this method this week, I think. I think I'm just going to do a little bit at a time, maybe.
Yeah, I was very, 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 very successful.
Well, you can tease people, how much money did you get for your garbage?
I think it's $450. I had one order that was $289 and one that was like $460 or $160.
Yeah. So there you go, people. I'm going to do that and try to free up some space in my house.
Yep. I didn't really free up a whole lot of space, but I did get rid of a bunch of useless cardboard that I will never use.
Yeah. I can tell myself I'll clear up some space. Let me have that.
Sure.
I would say we would adopt a deck for the coming week, but I don't know what the format's going to look like. So. Yeah. So I think we'll hold off and in the casual try hard way, we'll let some like 24-year-old Twitch pro
define the meta for us.
Yeah, spend 18 hours a day grinding through standard decks. Or I'll just wait for Crokies to tweet something.
That's what I was just going to say.
Because apparently he sets the metagame.
Yeah, the ladder reset today.
Yeah.
And he put a tweet out that said he's checked another thing off his bucket list. He's the first person to hit number 1 mythic.
Yeah. Well, I got my rewards on Thursday. So did the ladder not reset till today?
I got my rewards today.
Oh, I thought I got my rewards on.
I mean, it might have reset yesterday.
Yeah, okay. I got my rewards. Oh, it would have been yesterday because yesterday was the 31st. Because I got my rewards not today. But yeah, I mean, makes sense. So there you go.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he was on Jeskai, Luca, Fires, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows? But, yeah, we'll just wait for Crokies to do it.
Yep.
Seems better. And like I said, like the casual tryhard Sultai works better when you like know what you're targeting and like what your flex art slots need to be, as opposed to going in like blind, right? If there's not 100%. A bunch of mono red, you don't need the anti-aggro cards as much.
Yep.
Or if there's a bunch of control decks, you need to focus more on that. So it's just a matter of time. I would like to be able to like outvalue a Luca deck. Not a Luca deck, a Yorian deck. Be like, oh, really? Mm-hmm. Oh, cool. I really enjoy your Omens of the Sea. I'm going to draw 6 cards this turn. Like, cool. Or my card draw is going to attack you for 6. Let's go. Cool 4/5, bro. Attack you for 6, draw a card, gain 3 life. Go.
Perfect.
So
you got anything else for Arena this week?
I don't think so.
I have something I want to talk about if you don't have anything else.
I got nothing else. Go nuts.
All right. So not having to do with Arena. I don't even know if you've seen this yet. I hadn't posted it anywhere. I guess there was a completely unvalidated leak that happened about a week ago.
Oh.
That was not big news because it was just some guy who had no providence, no like reason anybody should trust what he said. But he came out with some information about Core 21. And also the post that he made had some information about what was going to happen in today's banning. And
he was right?
He was right.
Okay.
Which kind of says that the rest of his information may be good.
Okay.
So would you like to hear some of this other information?
Sure. We're in totally unvalidated territory, people, but here we go. Welcome to Wild Speculation Corner.
Yeah. Also, Rosewater put a post on his blog today, Blogatog. Sometimes before a set comes out, he'll just make blanket statements about what some cards in the set will do.
This is something he's been doing since like the Duelist was a thing.
Yeah. Well, he stopped for a little while, but he started doing it again.
So, for example, one of the cards in the new set, a card with 31 different options.
Right.
And what it'll be is it'll be something where you don't have 31 different options, or it's some like weird convoluted thing that
I think what people are saying at this card in particular is when it enters the battlefield, it can be any color or colors. Because there's 31 options.
Oh, if it's color or colors?
Yeah.
Okay. But you have so it's stuff like that, or here's a +1/+1 tribal lord for a creature type that's never had one, and it's a creature type with over 50 cards already in print.
Right.
So much like with Gallia of the Dance that gave Satyrs a lord, this could be a Nightmare Lord or something.
Yeah, whatever.
But those are the kind of things that are in this like Blogatog thing, where it's just like a random collection of little snippets, and it's like part hype, part just like fun, try to figure out what they're talking about, get people talking about the set.
So also what this guy had, supposedly leaked a week ago, some of the cards fit what Rosewater tweeted out, or not tweeted, but posted on his blog today also.
Okay. So let's hit me.
The first one is a reprint.
Okay.
It's Ugin the Spirit Dragon.
No way.
Supposedly, which also fits one of Rosewater's things today, which was a legendary or whatever that was first referenced in flavor text.
Yes, I do remember which one you're talking about, though.
Yep, because Ugin was first referenced on Ghostfire?
A popular character first introduced in flavor text. Yeah, Ghostfire, I think was his.
Yep.
Okay.
So Ugin fits that one, and he's supposedly in the set as a reprint.
Okay.
Which is a pretty nice money card and something that I'd be excited to have back in the format again. I really like Ugin.
Yeah, and that fits with us going back to Zendikar. He is kind of a Zendikar kind of guy.
Yep. The next reprint is also one that was on Maro's hint list.
Okay.
I believe it was a card reprinted, or only had one printing, and this will be its first printing in a non-premium set or something along those lines.
Okay. Let's see here. a card that's never previously appeared in a premium set?
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
In a premiere set. Sorry.
Premiere set, yep. This is a reprint from Portal.
Okay.
Grim Tutor.
No.
Yeah. Currently like a $250 card.
That's crazy if that's true.
Yeah. Grim Tutor it's an obscure one, so for all you guys that don't know, it's a 1 black for a sorcery. Search your library for any card, put it in your hand, you lose 3 life.
3 mana is the borderline for this effect being good. 2 mana, the effect is restricted in vintage.
Correct.
4 mana
banned and everything else.
Yeah, 4 mana usually not good enough.
Yep.
3 mana is that like sweet spot.
Just right. We have one more reprint. Again, this is one that was on Maro's post today. Been reprinted 20 times with 5 different artworks.
Okay.
Birds of Paradise.
Oh.
Yeah. Good old bop.
That would be god-awful.
Certainly not something that I'm excited to see in this current format.
Oh my god, that'd be so bad.
Yeah. Like strictly better Gilded Goose.
Yeah. Oh man, that would be a horror show.
Yeah.
But
so who knows? I mean, there's a lot of things that could fit that bill.
Would be sweet in Pioneer. I got a deck for it already.
Would be sweet in Pioneer, yeah. The deck we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, secret deck. We'll have to let people in on it once there's a list.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then we have some other things that aren't reprints. They're like new cards or whatever.
Okay.
The first is supposedly a blue card draw spell similar to Accumulated Knowledge.
Okay.
So like 1 blue instant, draw a card, then draw another card for each copy of it in your graveyard.
Oh, so Accumulated Knowledge is copies in all graveyards?
Oh, okay.
And so this would be like the fixed Accumulated Knowledge.
Yeah, I forget what it was called.
Accumulated Knowledge before the person who, like, no one wanted to cast the first one.
Yeah.
Because then the other person got, like, too much value.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so if it's in your graveyard, it fixes it.
Yep. We have an efficient black removal spell. The one that he says here is 1 and a black for an instant. Destroy target creature or planeswalker with CMC 3 or less.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, that is definitely...
Yeah.
Like, it would drive planeswalkers to be higher mana cost.
Uh-huh. We have a white defensive creature with card drawing abilities. They have here 3 and a white lifelink. Whenever 2 or more creatures attack you or a planeswalker you control, you may draw a card. Whenever an opponent casts a second spell each turn, you may draw a card.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was there more? Because I'm looking at, like, the list he sent out. I don't see all of the, like, the white card with card drawing ability. Was that on Mario's list?
No. These are part of the guy's leak.
Okay.
Yep. This one is supposedly a new Rada. So it's 1 red-green. As long as it's your turn, it has first strike. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play the top card of your library if it's a land. 4 red-green. It gets +X/+X, where X is equal to the number of lands you control. And it's a 3/3.
Okay, so I guess you don't get to play an extra land. So it's kind of
No, it's Courser Crucifix. Yeah.
But an aggressive Courser.
Correct.
Okay.
Kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then we have the big one. This does fit one of Maro's leaks today. Not leaks, but not spoilers. Teasers.
Okay.
This one does fit one of his teasers. And it's a mechanic that hasn't been used in 20 years.
Okay.
This is one of the new Teferis.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't know if you want to know what this one is. I'm a little scared of this one.
Hit me.
It's 2 blue.
Thank God it's not 2 mana or 3 mana. Okay.
Has a static ability.
Oh God! Like your opponents can't win the game.
You can use its abilities anytime you could play an instant.
So you can activate it twice, once on your turn and once on their turn?
I don't know. I think we would have to wait for the comp rules to know that.
Okay.
So starting loyalty is 5.
This is not okay.
+1, draw a card, then discard a card.
Still not okay.
It has a -3 that I'm going to skip for a second.
Okay.
The alt is -10. Take 2 extra turns after this one. What do you think the -3 is?
I don't know. Your opponent skips their turn.
Nope. Remember I said it uses a mechanic that hasn't been used in...
It phases?
-3, target creature you don't control phases out.
Dude,
talk about complexity, huh?
New players, you have no idea how confusing phasing is. Phasing, the creature isn't on the battlefield, but it's not an exile. It's in this other mythical place called the Phasing Zone.
Yeah, it just doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist in any regular zone of Magic.
Yeah.
So if you've seen that Loading Ready Run playmat where they have the graveyard is the dead stuff and the exile is the really dead stuff, there's another... The phasing zone isn't on that. You just slide the card under your playmat for a turn, and then you bring it back. It's just not in the game.
They just don't exist.
So when did cards fade? So it would phase out till your turn?
At the beginning of your... I want to say your untap step. Because it's not something that uses the stack. It's like it's a game action or whatever. It doesn't use the stack.
Yeah.
So I want to say it actually happens during, like, at the beginning of your untap phase.
But, like, so here we go. During each player's untap step, before the active player untaps, all phase in permanents with phasing that player controls phase out. At the same time, all phased out permanents under that player's control phase in. Spells and abilities can also cause permanents to phase in or out. When a permanent phases out, it is treated as though it didn't exist.
Right.
A phased out permanent can't be affected by anything in the game that doesn't specifically mention phased out permanents.
Yep.
Why?
It goes to the Twilight Zone.
But if this is real...
Yep.
Why? Why would you do this?
I have no idea.
Like, no one, I repeat, no one has been like, you know what we've been missing? Phasing.
So that's not 100% true.
Other than stupid Teferi's Protection?
Yeah. People love that card in EDH, and they want it back, and they want more of it. You know that card's like $50?
Yes, I know. I totally understand why you'd want to, like, float a bunch of mana, phase out all your stuff, and then cast, like, Juckle Hops or what is it, Oblivion or whatever? Destroy all permanents.
Oh, yeah.
Understand that. But, like, why would you look at it and just be like, you know what we need to do? It could have just been, like, exile a permanent until your next turn. Exile a permanent your opponent controls.
Well, if you're looking at it from that perspective, I understand why they did do phasing. Because if it's exile and bring back, like, there's so much flicker in Magic right now, like in the last couple sets. I could see why maybe you wouldn't want to, like, double, triple, quadruple up on your, like, ETB effects.
But if it's only permanents your opponent controls, now you're actually paying a cost.
That's true.
Oh, man, I'm going to lose to that Yorian. I better flicker it.
Yeah.
But when it comes back, they're going to get all the value that's on the board. Do I really want to flicker this?
Yeah.
Now you phase it. It's just like, yeah, there's no downside. Just your thing goes away. Especially if you get to do it on especially if you get to plus and loot. and then on
and then
their
do it
upkeep,
on your opponent's turn. Yeah.
flicker out their thing for like a whole turn cycle.
Yeah.
Again, why?
I don't know.
Okay. According to Gamepedia, the MTG wiki,
Yeah.
phasing is on the storm scale.
Yeah, is it 10?
It's 8.
8.
Okay, storm scale. So
we haven't talked about storm scale on the show before?
I don't know if we have or not, but let's just do a quick. So Morrow has a list. He calls it the storm scale, where it is mechanics that will not be reprinted. The higher you are...
it's the likelihood of a mechanic being used
reprinted.
Again.
Okay.
Yeah.
The higher you are on the storm scale, the less likely you are to be printed.
Named after the mechanic Storm,
yes,
which is a 10.
Yeah, so Storm is like, we're not doing this.
Right.
Level 10 is, I never say never, but this would require a major miracle. 9, I never say never, but this would require a minor miracle. 8, it's unlikely to return, but possible if the stars align. If phasing is truly an 8.
The stars have aligned.
Why? That mechanic is... And, oh, wow. Interesting. So according to this, there are apparently 6 iterations of the storm scale that mention phasing.
Oh, yeah?
9, 9, 9, 9, and then the most recent one, 8.
Oh, man.
So 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 8. Yeah, had to bring it down a little bit. He was feeling frisky one day.
Woo.
Yeah, I don't.
All right, so I just see at the very bottom of this post, the guy that posted all this stuff posted a new one today.
Oh, man.
And it's related to the very cryptic picture that Wizards put out on Twitter today. Did you see that?
I did not, man. This is... we are in full X-Files mode here.
We are. Do, 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 do.
So, Wizards, Magic the Gathering, that page?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so what is the... So
they posted a picture of a dog in a field.
Oh, yes.
And there's a comment on there.
Good.
Or like a caption.
Yeah, good hound dog. And it's like hound or dog.
Yeah.
Are they going to errata all the hounds to dogs and have a dog lord?
Well, let me give you a little bit of backstory. One of the things that Morrow has been championing, aside from, squirrels and whatever, is that since the beginning of Magic, he has believed that dogs should be dogs. And all of creature type dog, anything that's a dog should be creature type dog.
As opposed to hound.
And, yeah, for whatever reason, every time that anybody has ever made a dog, it has had creature type hound. So that's kind of the joke there, is that, they're fixing that and everything's going to be dogs now.
Okay.
So this last spoiler that this guy posted today says Dog Lord ? 1, green, red, white. So 1 Naya.
Okay.
Whenever you cast a dog spell, create a 1/1 cat token. Whenever you cast a cat spell, create a 1/1 dog token. And then you can pay Naya and tap it. It deals damage to any target equal to the number of dogs you control, and you gain life equal to the number of cats you control. And it's a 4/4.
I'm not okay with that. We're trying too hard.
Yeah.
Is it a legend so someone can have their
probably
legendary their legendary dog deck?
Yeah. Probably.
Their dog cat tribal deck? Cat dog tribal.
Man.
You have to have your thing altered into cat dog.
Smash them all together.
I don't know, man. I feel like they're trying too hard.
Maybe. I mean, we'll see. These are all completely unconfirmed, but at least his initial post definitely falls in line with Marrow's teasers today, and he was right about the not necessarily the bannings, but the companion errata.
Yeah,
he nailed, and that was posted 8 days ago, I guess.
Interesting.
Yep.
So
food for thought.
Food for thought. So there you go.
We'll find out Thursday.
We were having a pretty tight show, and now we're at 2 hours.
Sorry about that.
That's fine. But there's all this hot gossip and rumor.
That's right.
Yeah.
Got to give my people what they want.
That's right. Do you want unfounded speculation? We are your podcast.
That's right. We got you.
We got you. All right. If you would like to tweet at us that, I don't know, Fires of Invention was an inside job, you can get at us at CasualTryPod.
Yep. You can hit us up on Facebook at CasualTryHardMTG. If you want to drop us an email, you can do that at show@CasualTryHardMTG.com. Don't forget, if you're looking to pick up any singles, you can go to our TCG affiliate link, tcg.casualtryhardmtg.com. We'll get a very small cut, helps us keep the show running. If you want to support us a little bit more directly, or to get into our new sweet finance spec room, you can hit us up on Patreon at CasualTryHardMTG. I'm not limiting that to a certain tier. Like, as long as you're a patron, you can get in. I don't care how much money you pledge or whatever. Even if it's just $1, I'll let you in. That's fine.
I mean, I've already made some specs recently, man. I've got some hot information to move.
Yeah, we'll post it up in the finance thing, and I'll see if I can figure out how to get a link posted to Patreon. And
do we need to buy out all the cards with phasing? Like, do we need to get on that here?
I doubt it, man. They're all bad except for the Fairies Protection. I think they're all awful.
What was that, a Freight from back in the day?
Is it Rainbow
of Freight? Yeah.
Makes all your lands phase out. Is that the one?
No, this is the one that you flip a coin, and if you lose the flip, it phases. Yeah. No, sorry. Rainbow of Freight is blue is a 3 in a blue, 1/3 flying.
Okay.
With blue phase out.
Oh.
That, and is it Chaotic Freight? Is the one that, you flip a coin?
I don't know.
And it phases.
Beats me. We can do a gatherer search real quick.
Yeah, there's Rainbow Freight, I think, used to be a playable card in Visions.
Oh, that was a bad set.
It was a rare in Visions. Could you imagine opening a 3/1 flyer with an activated ability now as your rare?
Phase out.
Yeah. So,
I'm pretty sure there was a card that was undercosted, but it phased your lands out.
That would be so bad.
Maybe not. I'm pretty sure I remember that though.
Yeah, that would be
it's a 10 Iwa. It's a 3 blue for a legendary creature serpent. It's a 7/7 with trample. It has phasing. At the beginning of your upkeep, all lands you control phase out.
That just seems so awful.
It's a rare.
Yeah, no, I see it now. Yeah, so this is when blue creatures just had to have an ungodly drawback.
Massive downside, yeah.
Yeah, so here's another, I don't know if this is a rare or not, but here's something classy. Okay. Mist Dragon, 4 blue for a 4/4.
Okay.
You can pay 0, gets flying. You can pay 0, loses flying. You can pay 3 blue, it phases out.
Wow. Just in case you needed to get over a moat or something?
I guess.
Give it flying and then take it away?
Yeah, oh man, this set also had flanking.
Oh yeah, that's another good one.
Yeah. Maybe this new Teferi, maybe it's all a lie. Maybe it gives your opponent's creatures flanking.
Oh boy, game over.
We're done here.
Do you know what flanking is? Do you remember?
I see the rules text, but whenever it's blocked, whenever it gets blocked by one or more creatures, does creature get -1/-1 or more than one?
Yeah.
Whenever a creature without flanking is assigned to block this creature, the blocking creature gets -1/-1 till end of turn.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were on horses or something.
Something, yeah.
Here's one. 2 and a blue for a 1/1. Flying phasing. When Teferi's Imp phases out, choose and discard a card. When Teferi's Imp phases in, draw a card.
So it's like super slow loot?
Super
slow rummage?
Yeah, but if you were hellbent, you could just draw a card.
Oh, yeah, just draw a card.
There you go.
Sweet tech.
Sweet, sweet tech.
Man, that's some killer artwork.
Which one?
Teferi's Imp. It's a cat monkey with wings.
That is holding a scroll on in its tail and like messing with something on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
Podcasts are a visual media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You also realize we haven't actually ended this episode, right?
I know. We're going to have to work on that. Frenetic Affrate. This is what I was thinking of. Okay. 1 blue-red, flying 2/1. 0. Flip a coin. Target opponent calls heads or tails while the coin is in the air.
Okay.
If the flip ends in your favor, Frenetic Affrate phases out. Otherwise, bury Frenetic Affrate.
Oh.
So your opponent uses a removal spell on it. You're 50-50 to fizzle the removal spell. Yeah. This card now would be like a 2/3 flash haste threat that had this ability. It'd be 1 blue-red flying flash haste. 3/2. It'd be like, yeah, there we go. All right.
With prowess.
Yeah. Where were we at the intro or outro? I don't know.
I think we finished the outro. We just never signed off.
Okay. Well, we're going to hope we finish the outro. This bit of fun may stay. Maybe I just cut it into the end of the podcast. Maybe you have a little surprise. Surprise. Us talking about Visions cards. Thanks for hanging out with this wild ride.
Yeah, we kind of went off the rails.
And we'll catch you next week.
Yeah, we'll see you on Arena.
There we go. That was high quality entertainment there at the end.